So first of all, you say, how would I know what's inside their heads? That's my point to you, brother. It just seems like you have trouble understanding simple, rational reasoning. My question to you is, how can you make a comparison? Which is, how would you know what's in a trans person's head?
Welcome back to Media Madness. My name is Thomas, and the month of August is finally over, which means all of our favorite TV and internet talk shows have returned from their hiatus. Piers Morgan's Bloodsport debate panels have finally returned, and today we are again relitigating the transgender issue. And the reason we're rehashing this debate again is because of the arrest of an Irish comedy writer at London Heathrow Airport earlier this week. He had put out some quote-unquote transphobic remarks on Twitter, which drew the ire of the British state and prompted the response of 5 armed police officers. These British pundits always make a point of emphasizing that the officers were armed, because apparently this is unusual outside of America. So we have Cenk Uygur making his usual points on this issue. We have a British pundit arguing from a sensitivity angle, and on the right, unfortunately, we have a certain Andrew Wilson representing the anti-trans argument. I hate Andrew Wilson with the fire of 1,000 suns. He's one of these 40-year-old guys who debates gender and dating discourse all day. He goes on to shows like the Whatever podcast to argue with OnlyFans whores. It's unbecoming, but then again, no one on this panel is very impressive with the exception of Mike Benz, so let's get started.
Let me bring Andrew Wilson in here. So Andrew, Graham Linehan, I'm not even sure if you're familiar with him, but he's one of the most successful comedy people in the country over here. But he's been at the centre of this debate for a long time with his very stark views about this trans issue. He's been bailed by the UK police, but only with the condition that he doesn't go on X. He wrote on Substack, in a country where paedophiles escape sentencing, where knife crime is out of control, where women are assaulted and harassed every time they gather to speak, the state have mobilised 5 armed officers to arrest a comedy writer. What is your response to that?
Well, his tweets are satirical in nature. It is comedy based. She's right. He shouldn't have been arrested, but she's also wrong in the fact that, look, people are done with the trans thing. They've had enough of it. This whole, they're just kind of regular people like you and me, but happen to dress up like it. No, that's not really what's going on. You've unleashed an entire fleet of mentally ill lunatics on the public, and now we have to deal with the fallout of it. We have to deal with having to deal with these people on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people are sick of it. This guy is just echoing the thing which is in a lot of our minds, which is that, hey, we're kind of tired of these mentally ill lunatics on our streets. We really are.
Ava?
I find that really frightening. I mean, why would you say someone was mentally ill because they feel they were born in the wrong body? I mean, does that give you pleasure or joy to just stamp down on someone's, personhood? What's the intent here?
Do you value truth?
Because here's what, truth, yeah.
Good. Then here's what's true. What's true is that if you're a man, you can't be a woman. And if you're a woman, you can't be a man. That's what's true.
I don't think it's helpful to get into
Hang on. I'll let you talk, but let me finish. Your attempt to gaslight everybody into the opposition of this truth builds resentment. And it's that resentment that you have to deal with. And it's you have done it to yourself. Like most of these things, the left does it to themselves. It's very obvious. People are not going to accept this. The trans agenda has stalled, and it stalled out the LGBTQ agenda with it because you're trying to gaslight people into something which is obviously not true.
I think that, if you look just 30 years ago in the United Kingdom, we were treating gay men in the same way that we are now treating trans people. The mood does shift and the mood moves. And, I think that the stalwart belief here that we need to hold is that if someone does feel that they are born in the wrong body, it does not affect me as a woman if they decide that they are going to be a trans woman. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't change the rape conviction rate.
All right,
if there were one argument in favor of left-wing social crusades that annoyed me more than any other, it would have to be this one, and I don't hear people on the right calling it out enough. What does this have to do with you? How does this affect you? Why do you care? These arguments rely on an understanding of our society as a patchwork of atomized individuals, when it's not. We all have to live in the world. We have to contend with the social values, the version of reality that is enforced upon us. And when that version of reality is being enforced in service of justifying what is in most cases a sexual fetish, yeah, I care about it, and I don't like it. So I'm going to skip ahead through Piers' gold advertisements to where Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks gives his piece. So let's watch.
Yeah. So as you know, look, I maybe some folks on here disagree with trans activists 95% or 200%. I disagree with them about 5% about professional sports. And nevertheless, I've been attacked just as viciously as anyone on this panel. So I get it, guys. I get that trans activists sometimes drive people away. First of all, they don't represent all trans people. Second of all, the bigger problem to me is the hatred that trans people are getting that is irrational. So this guy, when he does the tweets about the smelling and the homophobia and misogyny and all that stuff, I don't care. Those are just his opinions, and no one should ever be punished for their opinions, even if they're terribly obnoxious, right? When he gets into, hey, if you see a trans person in the wrong place, start screaming about them and maybe physically assault them, that depends on the laws in the UK. But if you're threatening violence like that in general, yeah, it might be something the cops should talk to you about. And having nothing to do with your opinions about trans people or anything else, it's just that you're threatening violence. And then this other guy, the dude with the beard here, I mean, okay, so this is a common thing that the extreme right does. Okay, in my mind, there is no such thing as feeling like a woman. And I agree, I don't have that in my mind either. That doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't know why that's such a hard thing for folks to understand. So you weren't born that way, but they were. You think they're just all lying? And why would they be lying? And this whole thing of calling people who don't think like you mentally ill is actually super stupid. It's literally unintelligent, okay? So people think in different ways. They have different proclivities, including sexual proclivities and gender proclivities. If you can't understand that simple concept and you think anyone who doesn't think like me is
I like how Cenk's first instinct is to cite sexual proclivities before gender proclivities, because deep down he probably understands that this is a fetish. They're getting off to this. It's not some sincere expression of who they were born to be. I don't want to hammer in on Cenk too much because I like the guy the same way you like the village idiot in your local town. But he made a point earlier about how trans activists are damaging the left-wing cause, and I think there's something important there. I really think the left would have gotten away with all the gay stuff, with importing the entire third world under the guise of some bizarre perversion of civic nationalism, if they hadn't just taken the strangest and most annoying issue and hung it around their necks. They could have had it all, and for years they did, but they pissed it all away as soon as they leapt to the defense of chemical and physical castration, men and women's sports, and double mastectomies for confused 16-year-old girls. It was just too much for the average American to stomach, and I think you start to see the first cracks forming in the left's cultural hegemony when we had our first national reckoning over the trans issue a few years ago. Let's continue.
Mentally ill, there's actually something profoundly wrong with you.
All right, Andrew Wilson, there's something profoundly wrong with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, nobody said what was articulated to you was something which
yeah, it's actually kind of exactly what you
This guy's painful.
You said.
Well, yeah, what was articulated to you was pure logic. Pure logic, and I'll explain the pure logic. You have no comparison to make as a male for what a female does even feel like. That's how we know it's a mental illness, Cenk. It's really simple. It's the law of identity. I hope that you know what logic is, because that's what that is. It's the law of identity. You can't make a comparison for what it is to feel like a female, Cenk. It's not possible because you're not one. That's how that works. Stop trying to gaslight me. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what a male is, what a female is. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what mental illness is. The mark of mental illness is irregularities in behavior. That's how you know what it is, Cenk. How else would you even know?
Cenk?
So, okay, that doesn't make any sense at all, and it defies logic completely. So, first of all, you say, how would I know what's inside their heads? That's my point to you, brother. It just seems like you have trouble understanding simple rational reasoning. My question to you is,
how can you make a comparison?
How would you know what's in a trans person's head? You don't know what's in their head. Instead, what you're doing is a simple concept called projection. Hey, since I feel this way, you should feel this way. And then you start talking about irregularities. No, there's a difference between, hey, someone is detached from reality and is committing violence. Okay, that's a mental illness, regardless of what their background is, right? But when you say irregularities in general, what is regular? And let me guess, you're going to claim that whatever you think is regular and everything else is mentally ill.
It's defined.
And then you call that
It's ideas like these, this pseudo-libertarian idea that, well, you know, if they're not committing any violence, then what difference does it make? Why do you care? That has led to so much ruin in our culture. And Cenk asks Andrew if he thinks they're lying. And I don't think they're lying. I think that many of them do believe that they were born in the wrong body. As an aside, I've always found that a very strange line of reasoning from the trans community. The vast majority of these people are materialistic atheists, and they see religion as antithetical to their perceived identity. So it's always been odd to me that they approach the issue with this metaphysical posture, this idea that you can be born in the wrong body. It kind of implies the existence of a soul, an existence of you outside of your material flesh, blood, and brain, which is not an argument they would employ under any circumstances except for this one. So are they lying? In some sense, yes, more to themselves than to anyone else. But more importantly, we are being asked to lie. We are being asked to actively participate in this delusion, in this fetish, which I'm not willing to do. That is all I got for you today. Thank you for watching Media Madness. My name is Thomas. Like, subscribe, and comment below, and we'll see you next time.